Did what? They were 5th? Oh, I won't tell anyone that. Thank you. I'm going to call the meeting to order on this beautiful Saskatchewan day. And I'd like to remind everyone that we are on Treaty 6 land, the home of the Métis, and that I ask everyone to rise and the city clerk to say a prayer.
O God, let us each in our own way ask your wisdom and guidance in our deliberations. Help us to incorporate into all our decisions those values which will enable us to fulfill our mission to act as responsible stewards and to respect and value the cultural and spiritual tradition of all citizens of the City of Prince Albert. For this we pray. Amen.
Okay, I'm going to move to number 3 of the approval of the agenda. We had one item that was added. It's on your desk. It's from the Gateway Mall in consideration of the parking stalls. So if I could ask somebody to move the agenda with that letter. Councillor Zepp.
That the agenda for this meeting be approved as presented, and that the presentations, delegations, and speakers listed on the agenda be heard when called forward for the mayor, and then the addition, including the addition, please.
Yeah, she'll put that in there. Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. Question is now open. And it carried. Thank you. Presentations, we have none. Conflict of interest, you all know what that is. You have it, you file it, and then you let the clerk know when the item comes. Number 6, adoption of the minutes. Councillor Miller.
That the minutes of the council meeting held July 11th, 2022 be taken, read, and adopted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Worship. I'll second that.
Thank you. And I'll prompt the question. Question's now open. Carried. Thank you. Thank you. I'll move to number 7. I only had one proclamation. That was for Arthritis Awareness Month, which is September of 22. Number 8, public hearings. I have none. Number 7, delegations. Number 1, Grand Slam rebuild update. Now, on this one, we only going to have one speaker, as the doctor has contacted us and said that he will not be making a presentation today. So we have one speaker, and I'll ask that speaker to go to the podium. Yep. And if you just give me a minute, I got to arm this, and I'll let you know when it's available. Add. Podium. Did it turn red? Yep. Okay. Thank you. You have the floor, and you have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor and councillors. Once again, thank you for having me here today. I don't really know how to respond any differently than I already have. And it appears to me after the last meeting where we were here for the executive committee that my social media campaign, as you call it, was very offensive to some people. And using the word theft was not the appropriate word, although I am still not too sure what the word would be. I'm guessing breach of contract might be the word. That's illegal as well. And I've submitted the agreement or some description or an explanation of how I'm reading the agreements. So that City of Prince Albert and the Prince Albert Minor Baseball Association, that agreement that was signed and executed by you, Mr. Dion, and the acting city clerk, it did say that that was to form legally binding sponsorship agreements. And then it referred to the in-kind agreements that needed to be brought to the city council where and that's my understanding. And I submitted that, so that is in the record. That was for everyone to see. That's all there. I'm not going to go through that.
Yeah.
Last time we met here, it was brought up to everyone that a review needed to be done about the sign. And for the most part, I think most of the city councilors were good with the sign and the business. And I appreciate that, but it seems like the review was more about my personal experience with the city. That's where the review went to. And I just, when you're talking about toxicity, the whole thing that's transpired at this point with that report being written and put out there on the executive council, that was clearly made about me and my past experiences with the city. So it had nothing to do with the sign at all. That has nothing to do with the sign. And in fact, as I'll repeat again, most of the councillors in here they were okay with the sign and they're fine with the business. And I'm just wondering how this review of the sign, like where that stands, and then where I stand. I mean, I'm just really, I'm confused at this point. I'm really hoping that everyone here took a chance to read through the policy and those contracts, because it's my understanding that if you follow through with this, it would be a breach of contract. That's my understanding. So perhaps I'm not understanding it. Furthermore, if there was something wrong with the policy or the procedure, our sign is the only one that's down. And so again, it leads me to question, this wasn't about the sign. As I think one or two of the councillors said, it wasn't about the sign. It was about me. So I've done my best to follow all the procedure that's pointed out to me. I've been opinionated and I've spoken my thoughts, which I thought was an okay thing to do in this country and in this city. I thought that was okay to do, to approach and come into the city chambers and speak up and point out where I think that something might need to be discussed or debated. Last time we were here, me and my partner, we were berated after we had no more chance to speak. I think that giving an apology to the city employees and to the PA Tourism, like apologizing to them because of our behavior, I think that was, I guess I shouldn't have any feelings about that, correct?
I don't know.
Right? So I'm just hoping that everybody at the end of this, they've read the contract. The truth is out there, that's the truth. And I'm willing to just move forward. I am. I'm really willing to move forward and pray that the best decisions are made.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, before we go to discussion and debate, is there any questions, and only questions? Otherwise, if you just want to have a discussion, I'll excuse the presenter and we'll go to council. So is there any questions? Nope. So I want to thank you for coming, and you can listen to the debate. Got it. Okay. Counselor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you for the presentation again, Ms. Marklam. As mentioned in Executive Committee, I support the number one piece of this motion because it's saying, you know, we're approving our supporting Prince Albert Minor Baseball Association to come to these agreements. But I feel that number two isn't appropriate for this motion. I mean, otherwise we'll be listing this business, the next business, all the businesses that we would approve to be on here. So this motion, I support the Prince Albert Minor Baseball Association to formalize these sponsorships, which they had. I think this number two should be a separate motion and voting on that specific business on its own. I don't know if there's an appetite to do that in here, but I think that these are two different asks or two different motions in my mind. So I don't know if there's amendment to be made to separate these two to two separate motions so we can vote on them separately. That would be my ask to
I've written it down.
you.
Thank you. Counselor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the Prince Albert Minor Baseball Association be authorized to formalize sponsorship agreements with the sponsors as outlined in the report and in accordance with the agreement with the city to fund improvements to the Crescent Acres Ball Diamonds. And two, that the sponsorship offer received from Northern Elite Firearms be denied. And I'll speak after if there's a seconder.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Okay, hearing none of the seconder, the motion dies. So if this is where you can make a motion to split them. Yes, yeah, she's very. Oh, 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 that's why. I was just waiting for her. She's got to type. Yep, this is what you mean to separate them this way?
Just the one motion, then we can deal with the second one as well, which I will make as well.
Okay, and you're moving
When we
this
deal
one?
with Yes.
Okay, seconder?
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Any discussion on this motion? Go ahead. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just some quick comments on the great work that Minor Baseball did on gathering the sponsorship. The Ball Diamonds are looking spectacular. They've actually been able to host 3 baseball tournaments this season out of those ballparks, and that's a wonderful thing for the community, extra teams coming in from the city. It's something that hadn't happened. These were 13 and under ball players, and it hadn't happened in a lot of years that we were able to attract teams to come over and play many games. So that's a big thank you to the sponsors that came forward and gave money, and big thanks to Minor Baseball that ran a great sponsorship campaign.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no one in the queue, I'll ask the city clerk to prompt it. She has to add it. So just give us a minute. I'll tell you when it's ready. I gotta go right to the bottom. Baseball approval. Okay, I have the vote is now open. And the motion carries. Yep, Tony's gonna get up. Tony's gonna get up, she can just wait until she gets ready. Okay, You're up, Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the next motion that the sponsorship offer received from the Northern Elite Firearms be approved.
Thank you. Seconder? Yeah, there'll be no noise in the audience. Councillor Miller?
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead for discussion. Councillor Zepp.
Thank you. I would request if I could ask the city solicitor for solicitor's perspective on this topic.
You have to be more specific, like, what do you,
I guess specifically I'm thinking about the contract between the city and PA Minor Ball.
okay?
Thank you, Council, for the question. I have had an opportunity to review the contract between Prince Albert Minor League Baseball and the City of Prince Albert that was signed in October of 2021. I think the question you're asking, is there a breach of contract here? Because I think that was what the speaker alleged. And no, the city does not have a contract with the sponsor, with the proposed sponsor in this particular case. The city has a contract with Prince Albert Minor League Baseball. Minor League Baseball, I believe, has acknowledged that they did not follow the protocols that are outlined for entering into a positive sponsorship agreement with the proposed sponsor. And in particular, and I hear the speaker with all due respect, and I appreciate the speaker's not a lawyer and is not looking to really interpret the agreement, but I would bring to council's attention not just paragraph 2D that was referred to, but also 2D says that, as the speaker points out, that there are situations where Prince Albert Minor Baseball does have authority to enter into these sponsorship agreements, but it has to do so in accordance with the provisions of its contract with the City of Prince Albert. And paragraph 3A is important in that respect because it does indicate that all the policies of the city have to be followed. Policy number 71, dealing with sponsorship in particular, is attached to the agreement with Minor Baseball. And that policy very clearly states in Article 8.02 sub D, I think it is, that all recommendations for the entering of a sponsorship agreement have to go through the Director of Community Services, and a recommendation needs to come to council based on the Director's review of a number of issues, including such things as the relationship with the proposed sponsor. And then Article 4.01 sub C of the policy that needs to be followed indicates very clearly that council has to approve that. So to answer the question, was there a breach of contract on the part of the City of Prince Albert? There was no breach of contract. They did not have a contract with the proposed sponsor, and the contract, if anything, we don't have much information on what the relationship was between Prince Albert Minor Baseball and the proposed sponsor, but that's where the issue lies. Minor League Baseball acknowledges that they did not have the authority, as I understand it, that they did not have they are acknowledging that they did not have the authority under the agreement to enter into any binding contracts with the proposed sponsor.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a minute, I gotta get my job. Councillor Godnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to vote against this recommendation, or this motion, I should say. And for the simple reason, from the beginning, I've said that cannabis stores, alcohol stores, tobacco, gun stores, etc., are all legitimate businesses. Support them. However, not advertising at a U18 facility, and I think it's inappropriate, and that's why I from day one have been opposed to this Northern Elite Firearms sign being at a U18 facility, and I will stand by my vote and my words and my comments. I also, need to comment with what the city solicitor said, that I don't know all the numbers and all the letters of the policy, but I was challenged that at the last executive meeting when I said that all sponsorship comes for us to be approved. And that is in the policy, and I said that, and we've been approving all sponsorship agreements. There's never a sponsorship agreement that we don't, that doesn't come before us to approve. And so that is in the policy, and I think the city solicitor referred to section, I think it was 802, you said, or something like that, D or something like that, where that's where it is, and we can deny it. Or it has to have city approval. It has to go to the director, and has to, the director can make a recommendation one way or another, but ultimately it's city council's decision. And that, and it is our decision on those kinds of things, on all of those kinds of agreements. You know, my integrity has been questioned today, and I'm not going to go there. I think anybody that knows me knows exactly what I do at my committee meetings and my work as a city councillor, and to have that in writing somehow that I haven't read a policy, especially with respect to community services, is hogwash, malarkey, whatever term you want to use, and I don't need to go any further on that kind of a comment. That just is such a without any merit to make that kind of comment in a letter. Has zero merit. And, you know, it borders on the libelous defamation of character type of comment. But we'll leave that for now. But as I said from the beginning, I've been opposed to this sign, and I will stand by my beliefs, my values, and my decision to make sure that our U18 facilities don't have any cannabis, alcohol, tobacco, guns, any kind of that advertising at our strictly U18 facilities. And as I said at executive, I wouldn't have been opposed to cannabis, alcohol, tobacco, guns signs being at other facilities that are not strictly U18. So that's where my vote goes. And so I will oppose this. And if this is defeated, I will move that the sponsorship be denied. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we've heard here today that there was no breach of contract. And I think that's really important information. There was no breach of contract and there was no theft. So I think that's important factual information to get out. Now, I listened to the speaker carefully, again, and I think the speaker has a right to ask the questions, and I think it's important that those questions are answered. And we heard some of those answers here today again. The other question that I think I heard from the podium, and I'll ask the question again, was about the policy. And so I'm going to ask administration, so everybody's clear on how it happened and what happened administratively, what instituted or what initiated the review, internal review, what initiated the review, and what was the results of the review of the sign? How did that happen?
Director of Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. To Councillor Zierakowski's question. So as we had stated previously when the report was drafted, concerns were brought to the attention of the city with respect to the signage at this particular location. Once those concerns were made, brought to our attention, it's important, as per the policy as noted today, that a review be conducted in those circumstances. It's important that we remain neutral. We represent the city as a whole, and certainly not one opinion over the other. We need to take a neutral position when these types of concerns are brought forward, and that was our position on this situation. We heard both sides of the topic and took some time to complete that review within the department. We feel it's important to take the appropriate time when we conduct these types of reviews on various topics so that we can make sure that we have factual information, as you noted, and that we remove any opinion that may be on either side of it, remaining neutral again being the key. We removed the sign at that time to accommodate the review as the concerns were heard, and we felt the need to respect the concerns at that time in the interim. That allowed us to then complete a review around the fact that whether or not promotion of firearms at a recreation facility is appropriate. During that review, certainly we've seen some opportunity, we felt, to utilize this as exactly that, an opportunity maybe around education, around responsible gun ownership, around the proper use of firearms, around what they're used for and what are those appropriate reasons. Some of those facts don't necessarily always make it into the opinion on the other side of the topic. So when we started to really get into the specifics and the detail, in which we just simply asked some patience for, that was the result of the review. We did see a real potential here for an opportunity to work with both minor baseball and with the potential sponsor, or the proposed sponsor, I should say at the time, brought forward by minor baseball under the agreement. So as we came to the conclusion of that review, we felt the next step could have potentially been an opportunity to engage the proposed sponsor further as well, to get some of those facts, get some of those details, and have some of that justification in front of members of council so that we can make a final decision on this topic. There are reasons noted in the report that were concerning. We always will make sure that our process is respected. That's simply our responsibility. It's clearly outlined in the policy. And on this particular topic, we felt it was very important that our process was respected. But we'll also always prioritize a positive relationship as well. We have many opportunities to form these relationships. We have evidence of many of them in the past. Only noting simply since 2015, when this policy was developed, we formed hundreds of these relationships, all of them that are positive and provide mutual benefit to not just the sponsor, but also the city. There's goodwill, we recognize fully, built into these types of relationships, but there's also value to the sponsor or the business as well. When they're recognized at our facility, we bring many visitors and people through these facilities that creates exposure for those businesses. So it's important to recognize the relationship, not only in the form of a goodwill relationship to the fundraising campaign, but also in terms of a business relationship. What entered into the review was a bit of a discussion about that positive relationship or the opportunity for one. I think it's very important that we prioritize those. So as we looked at who we're going to prioritize, because we have many potential sponsors for this campaign, we needed to really seriously consider that. There's previous examples, I think, in interaction with the city that came to mind that are noted in the report, and I think it's important that we do consider that. However, also part of the review is minor baseball's role as well in it, and certainly the city solicitor did mention they recognized that they did move forward in advance of proper process being followed. They're fully aware of that. They're a great local organization, volunteer-based, doing a fantastic job on this fundraising campaign. However, it was important to note process there. So the opportunity to still, I think, have that discussion, to work with a local business, to work with a local sports organization, to, I think, do that in a respectful way, which I think everyone is wanting, I think is where we've landed as we sit here today with the overall review. It's taken multiple facets, I would say, along the way. We've taken the time to conduct a thorough review, considered all aspects, and I think at the end of the day, an opportunity to work with the organization, work with the proposed sponsor, come up with a positive solution to this topic is certainly the priority of the department here today.
Thank you. I certainly
ahead.
appreciate those responses from administration. We may not like the answers that we get when we ask questions sometimes, but those questions need to be asked and answered. and I appreciate that. Certainly, the response we heard today is helpful to people who were concerned, that heard things about breach of contract, that there was theft going on, that the policy wasn't followed. What we heard here today yet again, as we did at the last meeting, that policy was followed, there was no theft, and there was no breach of contract. And so I think that's really important information for the public. And it is my wish that for those folks that are still concerned, because I had some phone calls and the people I know asked me about it, and I encourage them, go take a look at the reports as well. Don't just read the opinions on Facebook and social media. Make some effort to get the facts out. And so I appreciate administration getting the facts out today yet again, and I appreciate the speaker for coming today as well.
Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I have a question for the Director of Community Services. Did I hear you correctly at the end of what you said, that you are looking for the opportunity to have a discussion with Elite Firearms and build relationship?
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. To Councillor Kilmer's inquiry, yes, that's correct. I wouldn't say necessarily today that we 100% support approval today. What we're saying, I think, today as a department is, I think everyone, all sides of this topic, I think would really benefit from a positive meeting, a positive opportunity to go through all the details. We're certainly more than open to doing so, and providing a report back to members of council on this topic. And I think it's very important to take that step first before we bring anything else back.
Okay, thank you very much. And I also heard the speaker have the same hope, and I think one thing that I really believe in is trying to find community and build community, and through the toughest things come the best results. I won't be supporting this motion, but I do feel like if we had a motion that said something to the effect that it be denied until, I think that allows for all parties to have some time to get together and discuss how we move forward in relationship building and sponsorship opportunities. Northern Elite Firearms is a company that does a service for our community, provides training, and I can see good opportunity for them to move forward as well. So I won't be supporting this one and will be rising on another motion.
Okay, any other comments? I do like the idea of meeting with them and offering them other opportunities, because we have lots of places we can put signs in the city of Prince Albert. I've calmed down, but I do acknowledge something that Councillor Botnick said. Is it an appropriate place to advertise under 18 to our young people? Well, not the way they're educated today. If we had more education, I may support it. And I did look at it over the weekend, and I even looked at it some way I could help them by saying, when I read all the policies, is that maybe she's a majority owner and doesn't speak for the gun organization, and that would put the personalities different. And so I have looked at it in all different lights, because I do believe they do a good business in our city, and that we have bigger things to fight. We have C-21 coming down, going to soon be knocking on our door. And so we got lots of other issues that we have to stand together to be successful in other opportunities. But I do agree with Councillor Brodnick that isn't an appropriate sign to put up in under 18. And so I'm going to side with him, and I agree that it's not appropriate. If it was going in Burns Park, if it was going on the golf course, wherever sponsorship things, I'd be there. Thank you. Councillor Head. Oh, let me switch to you. Go ahead, Councillor
Thank you, Your Worship. And I appreciate the comments from some of my colleagues here. I do want to say, though, that Prince Albert Minor Baseball Association had made the decision, had agreed that this sign was appropriate for their fields, even considering it's an 18U, and that's why essentially it got placed on their field. So I am supporting this motion as I made it, and I do hope that the colleagues in this room will support it. My fears are if we wait till another report, it will be the end of baseball season. So I'd like to see this motion voted on today.
Baseball season's over. Hey, you're too late. Okay. Yeah, summer. Any other comments before I call the vote? Okay, I see no. Could you shut your light off, Director? So help me. Do you have to prompt it, or is it ready? Okay, we just have to wait a minute. She has to prompt it. I'll tell you when the thing's open. Back, very bottom again. Thank you. 9:11. Okay, the question's now open. The motion is denied 7-2. Councillor Kilmer.
I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
I would, oh, it's been denied. That, sorry, I have to think on my feet. That that city administration and Northern Elite Firearms meet to discuss possible resolutions to the relation to building a positive relationship and future sponsorship opportunities. But it was denied. Oh, sorry, that Northern Elite Firearms be denied until, sorry, I got. That it be, that the motion be denied. Yeah, sorry. Until.
I don't think you have to add any more. I think if you just put Northern request denied, city administration meet with them. Yeah. And opportunities. You can't put.
Future sponsorship
Yeah,
opportunities.
you can't put until because we've already denied the motion. So.
But
Oh,
be
we didn't
denied
approve it.
until.
Yeah.
I think that's an important piece.
Well, as long as you're talking other opportunities, I don't think we can solve
Be
it.
denied until city administration and Northern Elite Firearms meet to discuss possible resolutions to building a positive relationship and future sponsorship opportunities.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that statement.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, do we have a seconder to this motion? Councillor Sierakowski.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? Questions or comments? Oh, Councillor Zepp.
Just a quick comment. You know, if this motion passes and this does move into the future, and if we as a city are looking at this type of signage, maybe in places where there are youth, maybe something that the two parties will want to think about are the visual on the pictures on the signage. Do we need to have visual pictures of firearms or not? And that's something maybe both parties will have a comment on at that time. Perhaps logo, perhaps not always visually showing firearms if there are youth there in that area. I don't know. It's just something I wanted to suggest that
Yeah.
both parties might consider.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, Councilor Sierkowski.
I'm supportive of this resolution because it strikes me that through this whole process, there was, through everybody, all the relationships involved, a lack of communication. And it is what it is. You can never have enough communication, whether in your professional or personal life. So I think it's important that we pause, regroup, and see what other opportunities are out there, will be out there. And if those relationships are interested in building and looking at opportunities together. We can do great things in this city through partnerships with each other. It is rarely that the city can do great things on their own. So through partnerships, this city gets things done. And I think that's the next opportunity that I'll be looking for if all parties are involved. And let's not forget, as Councillor Edwards said, this came about through a wonderful partnership opportunity through minor baseball for the youth. We can't lose that storyline because that's very important. That's why we're here. That's why we're having this discussion. Baseball season is done. If all parties are interested in moving forward, then let's get together, ask them to get together. If they're interested, being on the same page so there's no miscommunication in order to get something great done together.
Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support this motion. However, I will continue to stand by U18 facilities not advertising the businesses that I had mentioned earlier, along with, you know, political parties, religious groups, and things like that. I don't think that's appropriate on public property as well to be advertising those things. So I will support this motion, but as I said, I will not, for the next 2 years that I'm on council, I will not support cannabis, alcohol, tobacco, guns, etc. at U18 facilities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none?
You can just go to the question. He can just go.
Or I can just go to the original question? Okay. Just give me 1 sec here. So right here, 9.1, just do that one, use that one. Okay, the question is open. And it passes 7-2. Okay, we'll move on to the agenda then. Number 10, communications, we have none. Oh, maybe, sorry, if our guests would like to leave, I'll give them an opportunity because we have quite a long agenda. So I'll just pause for a minute to give everyone the opportunity. And thank you for coming. Because she was late to get in. She's got your ear. Okay, we're going to move on to reports of administrations committee. 11.1, 2022 landfill environmental services. Councilor Kilmer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the service agreement between the city and Tetra Tech Canada Incorporated for monitoring, sampling, and reporting for the landfill for an estimated cost of $66,295.88 plus applicable taxes be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other applicable documents on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Miller.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? See none in the queue. I'll prompt the question. Question is now open. And carried. 11.2, request to install a fire hydrant at 215 12th Street West. Counselor Zepp.
That the Public Works Department proceed with the installation of a fire hydrant at 215 12th Street West to be funded from fiscal stabilization.
Seconder. Counselor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second that. Yeah.
Thank you. Discussion? I see no one in the queue, so I will. I'll do it again. Okay. My fat little fingers. Question is now open. Carried. Thank you. 11.3 crosswalk policy. Councilor Lennox up.
I move that the crosswalk policy be approved with an amendment that colored crosswalks may be approved at the discretion, following amendment, that colored crosswalks may be approved at the discretion of city administration.
They're just going to say no. Okay, seconder. Councilor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion, thank you.
Okay, discussion? Councilor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. I just would like to ask a question to administration and remind us why that recommendation was in place. And I guess that would be going to the Director of Public Works.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Well, the recommendation came basically to just only paint crosswalks with white color, and that's basically for different factors. One of them is safety, the other one is the best practices and the guidelines that are actually covering most cities across Canada. And we did propose basically as an option, basically colored crosswalks or colored features be painted on the crosswalk or in other facilities other than just the streets.
Right, so one of the main parts of that was safety.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we can't lose sight of, and sometimes we tend to do that. So I won't support the amendment. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, what I find interesting about the amendment, and then I'll go to Councilor Gilmore, is that the department's going to say no. It's their recommendation not to put it in the policy, so I don't know why we would add that when it's their recommendation that part two that added is no. They're going to say no. And so it's our body to say no, so I won't be supporting the amendment either. Councilor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is for the Director of Public Works. In the process, I'm just wondering, people can ask in the process for color. Do you see the department always saying no based on safety, or is there a possibility already written in the crosswalk policy for you to say yes, given some circumstances?
Well, if the policy does get approved, then we go by the policy. We'll say basically we cannot allow any colored crosswalks. And the main approach really, for the reasons that are mentioned in the report, the safety and whatnot, this will provide us a consistent approach to all requests across, as opposed to just leaving it to administration to decide. So this will be a consistent way to respond to all crosswalks. So only white crosswalks will be allowed.
Okay. A question just a bit further, that is, slightly off topic, but I don't think I'm too far off topic.
I'm listening.
Is it possible that color is not allowed on crosswalk, but color would be allowed on streets
Well, that
currently in our policy?
well, we don't really address any colored streets. We address color crosswalks under this policy. And technically, I would say no, we don't allow any colored streets.
Is there a policy that
Yes.
says that?
No, we don't.
We
But
don't have a
that's
policy?
normally where we get those colored crosswalks requests, only for crosswalks, not just for painting streets.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think, and then I'll go to Councillor Edwards. Probably, oh, okay, and then I'll go back to the mover. I think the best painting display that I ever seen was at Vickers School on the side street. They had that large sidewalk going right up to their school. So they painted the squares of the sidewalk right up to the school, and it's still there. It'll last. On the street, it doesn't, we all know what happens to our crosswalk. So I really liked, to me, that was the best one I've seen. It was bright, big. Oh, okay. I said that I seen, but now there's another one. So there is an alternative, and that's why I don't want to get too involved in this. Just leave the policy the way it is, and they'll find alternatives, and I think they're better and longer lasting than painting a crosswalk. Councillor Zepp.
Yeah, I really respect what I hear today. I guess it's a bit hard to have a policy that completely closes the door on any, organizations that are wanting that, to celebrate and to use color for a short period of time. What we see a lot of is during Pride Month in June, organizations showing pride and doing coloring of crosswalks kind of as a bit of a tradition. And so that's the reason that I propose this, is to have maybe a little crack in the door that, and good point that administration may then, based on their thoughts, say no, but it seems hard to close the door completely and say we will never have any coloring on crosswalks again. I do like the thought that Councillor Kilmer raised, that maybe it doesn't have to be on a actual crosswalk. Maybe that's something for the future. I also, hope that organizations consider what we've just heard about sidewalks and panels by schools. But I am going to maintain my motion, because I guess my last point is just, it really does matter to people to be able to do this for a short period of time, to use their city infrastructure in this way to celebrate. It matters to our people. And I also respect the safety argument. We also want our crosswalks to stay very safe, and I understand why administration says white is the way to go. So I'll leave this motion as is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for at least considering our conversation. I still won't be supporting the policy, because who are you going to give that crack to? It's a policy for all our citizens. I even don't even like the idea, well, we'll let that group, but the rest of you know. That's even worse, in my opinion. So I like the department. They want us to be consistent. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you. I will not be supporting this, even though I support all the good causes of the
Yes.
crosswalk. And the reason that I won't be supporting this amendment is that I think back to what we just have earlier on in council. I think helping our administration have set policy and guidelines can really help them in moving forward. However, we did learn that the street there is no policy with the street, but I won't be supporting this.
Okay, now I'm going to prompt the question. You can shut down and sit down. Thank you, sir. Is it up there? Just use that one, then you'll make a new one. Okay. Okay, the policy is now open. And defeated, 7-2. So if I could get someone to move the original. Policy. Councillor Kilmer.
I move that the crosswalk policy be approved.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Edwards?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Zerikowski?
Worship, what I really like about this policy is that there is going to be one. So often through the years, we have organizations and schools come to us and say, can we do A, B, and C? And we know how slow democracy works, how slow it takes go through administration, get to us for approval. Now we have a policy and those groups will absolutely love being able to take action to promote their events throughout the year, spring, summer, winter, and fall perhaps, to get some of their painting done, however they like to get that done. So I'm happy, these groups, because we've heard from them over the last number of years that it takes so long to get an answer. Or spring comes and they come to us with an answer and they ask too late. And we can't
Yes.
get them an answer in time. And that's been terribly frustrating. So now administration can say, yes, go ahead, get it done. Here's the policy. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much. Councillor Miller?
Well, I just had a thought sitting here, seeing that we don't do our corners anymore. Maybe we can do the corners of every street instead of doing the sidewalks or the crosswalks. So maybe that's a thought we can do.
That's a sidewalk,
Yeah. Well, a corner,
corner sidewalk.
so we don't park on the edges. You know, we're not supposed to park there.
Thank you for the lesson. Okay, I'll prompt the question. It's at the bottom again? Okay, the policy, it's now open. And it passes 7-2. Thank you. 11.4, 15th Street parking removal. Councillor Zepp.
I would like to move to table this item to the next meeting of City Council. So that would be my motion.
Okay.
To table
Okay.
11.4.
For what?
Sorry.
It's refer.
If I could refer this to the next meeting of City Council.
Executive?
Perhaps, I guess, certainly.
Well,
The
because you
next
want to
meeting
have
of executive?
discussion and
Sure.
questions, that's why I said
Yep,
executive.
that would make sense. It was at executive committee already, but we've
Yeah, but we
received
didn't
this
have
new
all the
document.
correspondence. Okay. Okay, seconder? Councillor Kilmer?
I would like to second it and speak to it if possible.
Okay. You're not going to speak first? Okay, you're ahead. Go ahead.
So last week, I was approached by the manager of the Gateway Mall asking that we table this and have some further discussion. I referred her to the transportation manager, and through that discussion ended up where she was unable to attend this meeting, but sent a letter to city clerk. The reason that it came later on our desk is the address that she sent to city clerk had an S on it, city clerk. So if you're sending letters to city clerk, it's city clerk. And anyway, it's here now, which really matters.
Okay.
What she is hoping for is it's that tug of war between the traffic flow and the transportation policy, or the transportation, not policy, but our master plan versus economic development. And I think that's a really crucial point, and I need further information, so I appreciate tabling this.
Okay, I'm going to prompt the question. I use the same one? Oh, you have a question? Oh, sorry. Councillor Zerikowski.
So if this is going to be referred to the next executive committee meeting again, why didn't people ask their questions at the last executive? Why aren't we asking them now? And let me ask this maybe a little better, now that I think about this and play a little catch-up.
Were they not
What
consulted?
information are we asking before this gets on the agenda again? What are we missing that we're hoping to get? And if we don't provide instruction for that, what's going to change?
To the mover. Oh. Oh, Councilor.
Or to administration, I don't know who that's directed to.
Well, let's start with elected. Go ahead, Councilor Kilmer.
From my understanding, the manager of the mall was not aware of it until she was watching the executive meeting, and she had not been talked and consulted. As a person who was at that executive meeting and reading that report, I did read that those parking stalls made very little money, and that it was worthwhile taking them out in order to manage the transportation master plan and create the flow of 28,000 cars that go on 15th. Once I talked with that manager, she would have expressed, if she had been consulted, that it is very difficult to lease that portion of the building because those parking stalls were very heavily used when it was Simpson Sears. I said, how about the rooftop parking and those kind of things, and what she suggested was that it was quite a distance from there to the rooftop parking specifically for the elevators, so that if they were trying to lease, the economic opportunity for the mall is enhanced by having parking meters. But I do agree that it, perhaps the mover wants it to be referred back to the Transportation Department for further discussion and detail for us for the next executive meeting.
Go ahead.
So I'm still unsure as what's going to change between this meeting and next. We have correspondence from a manager, the mall, that expresses concern. What's going to change between now and next meeting? Maybe I'm on
Yes.
summer holidays, I'm still a little thick, but I need a little help on that. And while we think about that, while I continue to think about that, question to administration then, were all of the businesses, including the mall along that corridor, where they'd like to take the meters out, were they all given correspondence, consulted, an opportunity to express concern? Question mark.
Okay. Who in the department wants to tackle that? Go ahead, Acting Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor Dale. We did consult with the properties that are along the parking stalls, but not the mall. When we did the consultation, basically, we looked at the parking stalls utilization. And when we looked at the usage of those 12 parking stalls by the old Sears, there was almost zero usage. And that's actually what we based our consultation on. So if it almost had no usage, we did not make the consultation with those properties.
Thank you for that. So almost no usage at those meters. So why, this is a question to the mover now, why are you wishing to move this to the next meeting? For what purpose?
Okay, I'm going to jump, if you don't mind, I'll jump then over to Councillor Zepp.
Thank you. Yeah, great question, great point. I guess I was making an assumption that we would then have time to have consultation occur. And I guess I did, in reading this letter from the individual, I thought maybe we need that communication. Maybe we need that communication piece between now and decision day. And as we've heard, we haven't done that yet. So I think it would be smart to add it right into the motion.
Yeah, I think if that's your wish,
Yes.
your wish should probably be reflected in your motion.
Yes, no, I think that's great. So I'm taking the words from Councillor Kilmer here, and we can correct me if I'm wrong here, but refer to the next executive committee meeting, that the Transportation Department perform further consultation with the Gateway Mall. And maybe if I could also say, I really appreciate the work that the department has done. I'm not critiquing that. I just think that this is a long-term decision, and it may be smart for us to just get that communication piece so that we can have that occur before making a decision.
Okay, before I go to Councillor Edwards, I'm sort of stuck on what Councillor Zierakowski said. We now have their opinion. So what opinion are we going to get, and what new information we're going to get? They're opposed to it, so we have to decide whether we're going to move on the safety of the 28,000 cars a day that go by there, or are we going to hold those 12 parking stalls in, or are we going to move, and then if they do lease that spot and it becomes an issue, to reconsider? Yeah, I don't know where you're coming from. There's no revenue. You know, there's, so I can't see any more new information coming, like Councillor Zierakowski said. So I'm kind of baffled too what you're looking for, because we know they're opposed to it.
You may be right. We may not receive more information from that organization. However, isn't it maybe best practices and you know, when you're talking about partnerships, organizations in our city, that we reach out to this motion says that our transportation department will reach out to them. Maybe they could, that this organization could then hear the rationale from that perspective as well. I guess is the goal. Now, if there had been a time crunch reason why these had to be removed today, we haven't heard that yet, right? This is a long-term decision that we'll make, but I did not see any harm in having that communication occur that has not yet occurred.
Okay. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just, I think it's important to see the numbers of when it was rented. How much money were those meters generating when Sears occupied that facility? I think those are important numbers, because, I mean, we want that large portion of the mall rented out.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's good for the city. So if it's something that could block a business from coming in, I think, I mean, we've dealt with it for this many years. I'm pretty sure we can deal with those meters right now. So I think it is important to see those numbers. I think we're probably going to see that it generated pretty good revenue for the city when it was rented. So,
Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I too agree that you don't want to harm businesses that are in the city with policies, and so therefore maybe take a little bit of time, slow down a bit on this. I know the parking stall in front of our house, like, you got to get rid of that one. That is dangerous. I park there like once a month. I usually go to our house, and many times I just about got hit, either my vehicle or me opening or trying to get into my vehicle there, and especially in wintertime.
Yes.
So that definitely has to go in there. I think there's only 1 or 2 stalls between in front of our house by the fire
And the
hall.
fire department.
Those 12, I don't know how many are along the old Sears building, but yeah, I don't think it would hurt to pause and just look at that and look at the potential impact that it might have on business. And if it has a negative impact, then maybe we shouldn't do that. But it won't hurt to take some time to think about it. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call the question. Thank you. Okay, the question's now open. And the motion carries. Okay, 11.5, Canadian Legion request to place monuments on Memorial Square. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a quick question just before and I'd like to move the motion.
No, we got to have the motion first. What is your question, though?
Well, my question is, I just want to make sure that the monuments are going along where the cenotaph is. That's correct? That's how I read that. Okay, so I'll make that motion.
Okay.
that the request from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch Number 2 to place monuments in Memorial Square be approved, that the installation and maintenance agreement between the city and the Royal Canadian Legion Branch Number 2 for future care and maintenance of the monuments be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Cody?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion. Councillor Abrodnik?
Just one quick comment as well. I'm happy to see that, that the monuments also include peacekeepers and female veterans. And when we think about the number of women that contributed both World War I, World War II, and since World War II in peacekeeping, it's a significant number of Canadian women that have worked. And I can't remember what they were, well, they were called Jill Canucks, I think, in World War I. In World War II, I can't remember what they were called. But they had a particular title given to a lot of female veterans, or female people involved in combat. So I'm very happy to see that it is growing in number, and that we're acknowledging women as well as our Indigenous veterans who you know, the history of their treatment coming back, especially from World War I, is appalling by the Canadian government. And so to acknowledge Indigenous veterans, I think it's also a step in the right direction. So I'm glad to move that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Zepp?
Just a question for administration. When I read the report, I thought that it stated that these monuments would now be placed in the garden beds. Did I read that incorrectly, or are they over by the cenotaph?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. To Councillor Lennox Sepp's inquiry, the proposal in front of you today is adjacent along the same stretch as the cenotaph.
Okay, so not in the garden beds
Not
that
in the
are right
garden bed.
against the building?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
in front of the Arts Centre.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Zerkowski?
Thank you. I'm very excited about this initiative, and I thank the local Legion for taking the lead on this. I think it's going to be a proud, long-lasting collection of monuments for our community as large. I have a question, if I may, though. I want to ensure that, I think something like this, as was said earlier, the wider the conversation takes place, and sometimes we need to pump the brakes to get it right, something that is more long-lasting. So I want to make sure that the design, specifically the design, was this vetted through the Director of Community Services as well as through the Chair of the Community Services Department?
Director?
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Certainly my input was part of the process. It did take some time. We worked together with the Legion to review first the options of where they could be located, and then also as part of that, the durability of each of those monuments. The balance we needed to achieve was something that long-lasting is what I heard today, certainly a priority, and also something that we could achieve as far as costs were concerned. So there was very much a fine balance as far as that was concerned. We do feel they're durable, long-lasting, and the base to them will be on concrete as well to keep it out of the ground so that they don't deteriorate from the ground up with moisture or adjacent to our equipment. Some of those precautions will need to be taken in those areas. So certainly we feel this is going to be a positive project.
Done? Okay, I'll get the director to kill his light, and I'll prompt the question. Legion. Question is now open and passed unanimously. Thank you. 11.6, vending supplies and service agreement, snacks and beverages. Everyone likes snacks. Blake. Go ahead.
I'll move the recommendation that a vending supply and service agreement between the city and Dale's Snack and Vending for snacks and beverage vending services be approved for an additional 2-year term from September 1st, 2022 to August 31, 2024. Two, that the vendor pay to the city 21% of gross sales from all snack vending machines at all locations with a minimum annual guarantee of $4,800 in each year for the term of the agreement. Three, that the vendor pay to the city 30% of gross sales from all beverage vending machines at all locations with a minimum annual guarantee of $13,000 in each year for the term of the agreement. And four, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Head.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? I have one comment. I would like the department to really work closely with our suppliers, just not this vendor, but all our vendors that we have in it, and to give them a heads up when we have a major event coming, because there's nothing worse than being on day 2 of the major event and all the vending machines are empty. It's inconvenient for the customers, and it's certainly inconvenient for us not getting our 21%. And to the point, there was one event, he did say he was coming, a day, but he had a hard time hauling. And I said to him, in the future, mention that to the department, and maybe we can, for that event, find you room to store your product online, so then it's quicker to fill up those vending machines. Because it's beneficial to him, but it's also beneficial to us, but it's also a customer service thing. So I'd just like to make that, because that was brought up by other councillors as well, that we have to make sure that we supply a service. So I will prompt the question. Oh. Get back.
I take, just a brief comment, I take from the report that administration is satisfied that our percentages of sales is appropriate and all that. I just, I wish that we did receive more and that we could receive more. Or, in some of our facilities, we do have city staff that are selling our city products, and I know that isn't possible in every single building, but that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Well, one thing I do give the vendor credit for, you can use credit cards now, Interact, cash. So that's really brought the 21% up, because not very many people carry cash. So they are working with us in the department. I want to congratulate both parties for working together. We just got to fine-tune a few dates. Okay, the question's now open. One more. There we go. Thank you. Motion carries. $11.7, 22 Recreational Facilities Grant Program, first intake. Councillor Cody?
Yes, I agree with the administration on this, and I will move that the following be approved under the first intake of the 2022 Recreational Facility Grant Program and funded through the Community Services Land Fund. East End Community Club, perfect place for it. Receive $4,150 for repair of the kitchen exhaust fan, replacement of the unit heater, updating of the light to LED, and other minor maintenance in the rink. West Hill Community Club receive $2,916.50 for roof installation and replacement of the regulator on the water heater, and that Crescent Heights Community Club receive $8,069.50 for the installation of a new boiler.
Right on. Seconder, Councillor Zerikowski.
Seconded.
Thank you. And, Councillor Head. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. And definitely supporting this this motion, and of course, this program is really great for our community to assist some of our community clubs. I just have a question, if I may, to the director, who may not have the answer today, but that's fine. I do see that in 2019 and 2021, there were some additions to the Midtown Hall. I've got to ask questions about when we're going to look at our spray park in that area, and that might not be a question you can answer right now. Maybe during inquiries part of it, but that's one of the calls that I've received.
He put his light on, so we'll.
Thank you.
Director of Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Thank you for the inquiry, Councillor Head. So certainly the spray park at Midtown definitely needs attention. It's something we've identified through our playground replacement study. So I think you'll see more information on hopefully some timelines, some funding solutions, and some potential to move an update on that spray park forward in the near future.
Thank you. So I'll prompt the question. Question now open and carried. Thank you. 11.8, Passionate Home Public Art Commission date. Update. Councillor Bodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the amendment to the artist agreement between the city and the artist Mary Longman to amend the payments and timelines to the artwork titled Passage Home be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Seconder.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second that.
Go ahead. Okay, I do have one question to the director. We've never done this before, so I'd like to amend it back that we don't make the final two payments until the artwork is installed and the project is done. I noticed that when you put the due dates together, the payment comes and then the installation comes, where in other past practices, we've held it back like the 10% to make sure that we get the product. Is there a reason why those dates run that way? Because I can't support it. You know, I think it's a great project, but at the same time, I have to be frugal with the taxpayers' money. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Dion, and certainly fair comments. We did look at it and attempted to compare it to other projects that we've done. This being the first art acquisition that we've done, certainly a bit different than some of our standard projects, where you're correct. There's a holdback to a certain amount until that project is complete, say a spray park or something of that nature. The trick with this one is our agreements directly with Mary Longman. Yes. And she's fronting the cost as the artist with the foundry, so she makes those payments, makes sure that the product is being produced the way it should, meeting the standards that we're expecting. And in order for us to pay the foundry, in order to have it, the piece done so that we can have it for the installation date, the payments are necessary in order to get that. What we did look at was a opportunity to see what is being produced, because that is the key factor. We want to make sure the quality is there. We're very confident that's going to be the case, but it doesn't hurt to have some of those check-ins on the project along the way. The first of those will be mid-September. We're going to get the final rendering of the art piece itself before it goes to the foundry. And then Mary herself is directly involved in the production, final touches. There's some painting work, things of that nature that's going to happen through the winter so that the final product is ready for the spring. So we did think it was very important that those were in place. They'll be included as part of the agreement. And we feel with those changes, we'll be confident that the product we're going to get will be delivered in the spring as noted and will be to our satisfaction.
Okay, just one follow-up question. So they didn't know this when the dates were first rendered, when it first came to us, and we had the schedule, this date, the foundry can't keep those dates, or what, sort of what went off the rail?
Yeah, that was the delay was more so in the production. So initially, you'll recall when we brought the proposal forward, we were hoping for an unveiling date of September 30th this year, which is the National Truth and Reconciliation Day. Certainly that was the timing. Unfortunately, some of those delays in the production of it caused us to do some more work over the winter.
Thank you. Councillor Bodnick.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment. Yeah, there is one foundry. We're going to see the actual cast of it prior to it being poured at the foundry. And the foundry is, I think it's in Regina. I think that's one that they're using. And that particular place is where the majority of artwork gets poured. And so there is a delay in getting that work done. And I know the foundry in Regina also requires a deposit prior to pourings, because they want to make sure that they don't get, taken to the cleaners as well. So we will know exactly what the monument looks like when she completes the cast. And I think I know you don't disagree with it, so it's going to be an exciting monument that will go along the riverbank and appropriate, and it's going to be very, very powerful, I think, along with the Sisters in Spirit, I think it's called, monument that's on the riverbank right now. So they'll be kind of across from each other, and our Indigenous children coming home to the gathering place. So.
Well, and the reason I ask these questions too, I want to do more of these in the future. And like the department said, this is the first one we've done, so I want to get the template sort of set up, so in the future, it's just, whew, yeah, we'll do it, because it is a good project. Okay, no other one in the queue, so I will prompt the question. The question's now open. And carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.9, 292 15th Avenue East tax relief.
Yes, I move that the tax abatement of $907.60 for the Masonic Temple Corporation for the property located at 292 15th Avenue East be approved.
Thank you. Seconder? Oh, who did it? Secret handshake.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? I see a none, I'll prompt the question. Question's now open. Motion carries. $11.10, disposal of tax title land, 56 18th Street West. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the vacant property located on 56 18th Street West be listed for sale for $10,600, and that the mayor and city clerk are authorized to execute the agreement and any other necessary documentation on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Edwards.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. I see no one in the queue. So I'll prompt the question. Question's now open and carried. Thank you. $11.11, tax title land disposal of 17 Gurney Crescent. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the tax title land located at 17 Gurney Crescent be offered for public tender, and that upon the completion of the public notice and bid process, administration forward a report to City Council for consideration with a recommendation regarding the results of the bid process and next steps.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Cody.
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. I see no one in the queue. So I will go to questions now open. And carried. Thank you. 1112, CUPE 882, Letter of Understanding, Building Inspection Division. Counselor Kilmer.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the letter of understanding number 2022-01 be between the city and the Canadian Union of Public Employees, local number 882, be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the letter of understanding on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Counselor Miller.
Yes, I'll second Mayor Dion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I see no one in the queue. Questions open. And carried. 11:13, building inspector's appointment. Councilor Zierakowski.
I move that Jonathan Viss be appointed as a City of Prince Albert building official pursuant to the Construction Codes Act, and that the city clerk be authorized to issue and sign the certificates as contemplated under the Construction Codes Act.
Thank you. Seconder. Councilor Kilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I don't see anyone in the queue for questions, so I'll move the question. It's now open. And it carries. Thank you. 11:14, bylaw. Appointment, and I need the city clerk. Oh, yeah. Sorry, sorry. Comments before I ask for a motion. Yeah, from the city manager.
I just want to advise council that unfortunately, the individual being recommended for appointment today is unable to take the position with the city at this time. But we do have, as indicated in the report, we were also posted a term position. That term position has closed, and we would like to appoint an individual. So we would request that council look at appointing that individual instead of this individual today, and her name is Ashley Newell on a term basis. So if you could make that appointment instead, we would appreciate that. She will be starting on Monday, so we'd like her to get to work.
Okay, Councilor Edwards.
I'll move the recommendation that Ashley Newell be appointed as bylaw enforcement officer.
Oh.
I was okay. Also move that Ashley Newell be appointed as a bylaw enforcement officer for the City of Prince Albert on a term basis pursuant to Section 337 of the Cities Act.
Thank you. Seconder. Councilor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I see no questions in the queue. So the questions is open and carried. Bylaw number 17 of 22, rezoning 221 12th Street West from R4 to C2. Oh, sorry, 215-12. Councilor Zepp.
That bylaw number 17 of 2022 be introduced and given first reading, and that administration provide notification to hold a public hearing.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Head.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. I see no one in the queue. So the question's now open. Questions now open and carried. Thank you. 11:16, Oh, sorry. City Clerk.
Mayor, we have bylaw number 17 of 2022. Bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw to rezone 215 12th Street West from R4 High Density Residential to C2 Small Lot Arterial Commercial. This bylaw is for first reading today.
Thank you. So. I love these colors. Oh, there it moved. Oh. I think I killed them both. Let's try this again. Counselor Zapp, sorry.
That's fine. The bylaw number 17 of 2022 be introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. Counselor Head.
I'll second that.
Thank you both. So I'll prompt the question. Question's now open. And it carries. Thank you. 1116, Development Permit Application Hotel, 4395 7th Street East. 7th Avenue East. Councillor Cody.
Yes, this is a very, very good news story. And I agree with the administration here and move that the development permit application for a hotel to be located at 4395 7th Avenue East be approved, subject to A, the applicant submitting final plans for review and approval by administration, and B, that the applicant entering into a landscape agreement with the city, and that 2, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Councillor Bodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second the
Okay.
motion.
Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Worship. So this is a new hotel, more construction, more jobs, and just to administration, if I may, I just want to confirm the address. Where is this new construction occurring?
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Zierakowski, for the question. Yes, what is Councillor Cody is alluding to, it is located in the Yard District, just south of the new Prince Albert Arena complex.
Thank you for that. And is it too early people are going to be asking, what hotel, whose is it, who's building it, what's the name going to be? Is that too early yet? Is that something that in these situations, we want the developer to share that good news at their own time when they're ready?
Hey, thank you, Councillor Zierakowski. That's a great question. And yes, I do like to reserve that opportunity for the developer. Often they've got a marketing campaign of their own to let the public know, but I'm sure that'll be coming shortly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, they want to do a dirt ground ceremony. Councillor Zapp.
Thank you. Question for the director. I received a couple of questions. I don't know the answers, and so I'm going to ask the director. Has this land been sold yet to the hotel corporation?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Exec, for the question. Obviously the sale of that land, it is private land, so I'm not privy to what those details are, but my understanding is, yes, this is one of their initial sales, subject to a previous subdivision application and approval by the city. But yes, I believe it is sold.
Okay, and then my last question is, I was asked about vacancy rates of our hotels that currently are within the city. We as a city, do we do any type of assessment of that?
Through the Mayor, thank you for the question. I know we do. I don't have those numbers at my fingertips, however. I can look into that for you and provide members of council with those rates.
Okay, that's something I could send through inquiries process then, is vacancy rates. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. This is just one of the many steps towards a positive attraction that's going to happen in our city. This is really exciting. New builds, as Councillor Zierakowski said, new jobs. This is a good thing for our city. And I think once the buildings start to be visual and we can see these structures up boy, it's going to be a great thing for Prince Albert. And I think the residents are excited. They're building excitement. Lots of chatter, lots of positive talk about this overall project. So looking forward to supporting this motion and having this hotel be built.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just add to that, not only construction, et cetera, but taxes. We're going to have an increase in taxes, like our tax base. Plus, the Destination Marketing Levy Fund will grow as a result of a hotel. And that Destination Marketing Levy, as we know, funds all these projects, youth projects, all kinds of projects in the city where people need hotel rooms, heads and beds. They get a grant, they put on a great event, whether it be a baseball at Crescent Acres or softball or Worlds or hockey games, etc. That's what it's about. And so the more kind of construction like this that we have, that's what will build our Destination Marketing Levy Fund, which will also then benefit all the different groups in Prince Albert and make, again, Prince Albert a place where people want to stay in hotels, spend their money, and see some positive results for our community. So great project, and I'm glad it's going, and we're finally seeing some more development in our entertainment district, our new entertainment district in Prince Albert.
Well, what I'm excited about it, and one of the marketing reasons that they're building the new hotel is, we heard at the shovel turning, both from both our swim clubs and from Prince Albert Minor Hockey, how many more tournaments and events, national, interprovincial, provincials. So that's what I'm excited about, and you're right. And then we benefit again by heads and beds, so we can sponsor more of these events to our community. So thank you for your comments. And for that, I'll prompt the question. The question's now open. And it passed 8-1. Well, I guess we don't need a new hotel. No, we want to see the voting screen, please. Well, you just skipped over it. Okay, thank you. Okay, going development. Next one is 11.18. Oh, no, 7, development permit application, Child Care Center. Councillor Zepp.
The development permit application for a child care center to be located at 67 13th Street East be approved, subject to the applicant submitting final plans for review and approval by administration, and that the existing parking meter servicing the 2 stalls directly in front of the proposed child care center be removed and replaced with 15-minute unloading zone signage.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Kilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor Zepp.
I guess I should ask city administration if we have performed consultation about removing those particular parking meters, or if that was part of our plan at all or need.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. No, we have not performed any consultation. There is plenty of parking stalls in that street, and we don't feel the need for that.
And these parking stalls are directly in front of the Cumberland Inn, as I take it?
That's correct,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay, I see no one else in the queue. It's now open. And carried. Oop, Oh, I hit the wrong button, got it out. 11.18, cable replacement, City Hall. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the tender number 30 of 2022 for the purchase of structured cable replacement be awarded to Trident Communications at a cost of $115,413 plus applicable taxes, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other applicable documents on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Edwards?
I'll second that, Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Any questions? I see no one in the queue. Questions now open and carried. 1119, City Hall renovations. Councillor Cody.
Yes, Your Worship, I move that the city manager be authorized to utilize up to $100,000 for the 2022 salary savings from the 2022 salary savings from the departmental restructuring to fund the required city hall renovations resulting from the restructuring.
Thank you. Seconder.
Seconded.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, I see no one in the queue. Questions now open. And passes. Thank you. 1120, Prince Albert 2023-2025 Strategic Plan. Councillor Sierakowski.
I will move the recommendations that the 2023 to 25 strat plan for the city of PA be approved, and that the city manager provide a semi-annual progress report to city council indicating the work that has been completed, work that is in progress, and status of outstanding projects.
Thank you. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I will second that.
Thank you. Any questions? I see no one in the queue, so I'm moving this one. Question is now open. And it carries. 11.21, action item, City Council Executive Committee and Budget Committee. What's your wish, Council? Councillor Edwards.
Also move that the action items be updated as indicated in the open items document with the following amendments. Item fire 1, possible locations for 2 new fire halls due date be amended to March 31st, 2023. And B, item PD 1, motion, Councillor Sierakowski, responsible pet owner. Bylaw review due date be amended to September 12th, 2022.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Sierakowski. Thank you. Okay, I see no one in the queue. We are moving along. The item is open. One more vote. No problem, I didn't want to say your name, Theodore. You know, no problem. Okay, moving down to the agenda now. Unfinished business, we have none. Mayors and councillors forum. Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I had the privilege of working at the fair this year, or this past week, and made spud nuts. And I have to admit that I have only had one spud nut in my life, and that was 2 years ago, but I have now learnt how to make them, and I can make them very well. The privilege is that I got to meet and work with the Big Sisters and Big
Yes.
Brothers organization and Deef's Chiefs. The Big Brothers and Big Sisters, I learned so much about what they're doing. They currently have 20 kids in our city with mentored with 20 adults, but they have 25 more waiting. And so I'm encouraging the public that if you have time, and it's really about 2 hours every 2 weeks to provide being a meaningful adult in a kid's life and help them, and they help you. I find working with kids brings the best out of me, unless they're my own children. No, that's not true. Sorry, Allie and Kate. But anyway, so I encourage the public to get a hold of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. They're a terrific organization. And the Spudnuts, if there's some place that's willing to host Big Brothers and Big Sisters in January to have another sale, they would please contact them. They think that twice a year is better than once a year.
Okay. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't take too much time. I do want to recognize and I guess congratulate all the athletes of the Tony Cody First Nation Summer Games, which are held in Saskatoon this year, July 24th to the 30th. Don't have a number of how many athletes attended, but there was a lot of people moving around, and we had some great weather, a lot of different sporting events. I want to congratulate specifically, I guess, probably embarrass her, my daughter Brianna Head and her partner Casey Linklater for getting a gold medal in beach volleyball, but all the athletes that competed, endured the great weather, a little bit too hot for some of the events, but great spirits there. And a big shout out to the coaches, the parents, the volunteers, and the attendees, and of course the athletes that participated. So well done. I'm looking forward to next year.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a few as well. Unlike Councillor Kilmer, I've eaten more than one spud nut, I'll tell you. This
That's why
last
my
week
jacket's open.
was hard on the body because they were so darn good. Actually, our group, we did put in a group of people from the city that helped make spud nuts on Friday morning, and one of my jobs was quality control, so I had to test them to make sure that they
Well,
were.
that was a good job.
Were able to sell through the Deef's Chiefs booth, but it was very successful, and as Councillor Kilmer said, it's a great organization, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Natasha works so hard that entire week. I don't know how she does it, and so I want to thank her for all of her work and working with Deef's Chiefs and selling. So she makes, they sell, and then lots of money's made for Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So congratulations to them. I also want to just thank all the different groups at the PAX and all their volunteers. Without the volunteers, the X would not happen. And when you go there, one of the best things is the food booths, and they provide such a wide variety of different types of foods that are in our community. And it's all through volunteers, or a majority of it's through volunteers. So thank you to all those volunteers. Last, I just want to bring awareness to the community that coming out at the end of August, Wednesday, August 24th in Memorial Square is a celebration of Ukrainian Independence Day. Ukrainians received their independence from the Soviet Union on August 24th. That's when they celebrated. And we're going to have a program with music, speeches, dance, and education of what happened and why they got their independence, why Ukraine got its independence, and how that independence was guaranteed by the Soviet Union, by the United States, and by Great Britain, and maintaining the independence and the borders of Ukraine. And so it's going to be a good education day for people, and a celebration of independence. So,
Time. You give us the date.
time, it's going to start at 4 o'clock, I do believe, 4 or 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I think. I'll have information out.
Okay, good.
Somewhere around the 4 or 5, I can't remember the exact time when it's going to start. But that's what we plan on doing that day. And Taras, Kachkowski, and myself are organizing that through Veselka, Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Club. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Zerikowski.
Thank you, Worship. Your Worship, we've seen a resurgence lately in the entrepreneurial spirit of our community. And I'm speaking specifically about the mobile food truck vendors that we've seen this summer, more than I can ever recall in our city. Now, we spent some time looking at our own mobile food truck policy. We sent back to administration came back something with us. We had a conversation about it, and I think we went through a couple of changes and we finally settled on a policy. I wonder if it's time, if enough time has gone by to take a peek inside that policy. I wonder if it really is too restrictive in a couple of ways. And one being the written permission that's needed to sit in front of an empty lot. The written permission that's needed to sit down by SIAST if you're a mobile food truck vendor, or up at the hospital. Who are you going to get permission from? The government of Saskatchewan? Why can't they sit in front of a city-owned lot where there is no food competition, where there is no other competition there in that immediate area? I think we did a good job in the policy, if I recall, so far as accommodating our traditional structured restaurants, those folks that have invested and have a business there. So I think we're good there. We've heard that from our community. What I'm hearing now is we're a little, maybe it's time to take a look at that policy. Maybe it is a little too restrictive on that item. So I think at this point, really, I just want to send out an invitation to administration and council themselves to pay attention, to talk to a mobile food truck vendor, to talk to an entrepreneur that's trying to make a buck, to provide a service to our community. And I think at this point, I'll leave it there rather than ask administration to take a look. I just want to send that invitation out, and maybe we can have an opportunity to talk about it more and review it at another point in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zepp.
Thank you. I wanted to congratulate our city's summer playground leaders on putting on a really fabulous Kids Fest. And it was huge at Kinsman Park, and just an enormous amount of work. I know that those playground leaders were tired after that very long day, and the kids really enjoyed it. But there was a lot of children there getting to enjoy a lot of free events. And boy, it was just really respected and appreciated. I also wanted to congratulate the Kinsman Water Park staff for just a really, really great season. I wanted to mention to the public that I believe their last day is August 21st, right? And so if you can get in there before August 21st, it has been a really positive experience and really well run. And the end of season is coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I'm sure the mayor will have more to say about this issue in a minute, but I just wanted to say that it was great to see finally the sod turning of the two arenas and the aquatic center the other day, about a week ago. Councillor Kilmer was there, and Councillor Zerikowski was there, yourself and myself, and it was just fantastic. And Graham Construction put on a beautiful site for us, and you couldn't have found it any better. I think our city clerk, our city manager was with us as well, and others, city staff. There were lots of city staff there as well, and congratulate them for coming. But you know, there's a sign here. There's a sign here for us to look forward to. There's going to be so many sod turnings. There's going to be one for a hotel now, and likely a strip mall of 10 acres. There's going to be other facilities. There's a new dealership going in. And all of those kinds of things make it pretty darned exciting for our city. And I want to tell the naysayers that, look, had we taken their advice and not gone onto that site, you wouldn't see one of those things because there wouldn't be room to put them. Mm-hmm. There wouldn't have been room to put them. Now we've at least got the opportunity to build and build more. There's going to be all measure of things out there. And I want to say thank you very much to Graham Construction. I want to say thank you very much to our staff who did a great job, Elna, who did good communications, and all of the rest of the people. And it's just fantastic to see that we have that it is the modern world on the move. That's the city of Prince Albert.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one thing. Congratulations to a couple of former local minor hockey players in Prince Albert's, Tanner Howe, Braden Yeager. Both played and won gold medal at the Helinka Gretzky Cup recently. Not only did they play, they both scored in the gold medal game, which is outstanding.
Oh, wow.
So there were also two other links to Prince Albert. Peter Anholt and Kelly Gard were both part of that team. So congratulations to all of those people, and it's nice to see gold coming home.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. I'd like to congratulate the PA exhibition for a great fair this year, and also for the parade. And thank you for organizing our float for us this year. And it was just a great week. I didn't participate in hardly anything, but I did do the spud nuts with everybody. And yeah, I took the pictures and ate a couple of spud nuts, but that's all I did.
Oh, no, you picked garbage.
Yeah, I picked a few. I did some garbage because I couldn't stand it. So anyway, yeah, I did that with a few other people, and it was a great week, busy week. Saturday, I guess, was a record breaker, and I guess you'll talk about that a little bit more. And I guess our next event is the Polka Fest.
Yes.
Yes.
And you'll soon be hearing about that. We actually have a meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. Councillor Kilmer.
Sorry, I forgot to mention just appreciation that the Stanley Cup was able to come to our city. The Manson family of Prince Albert has done us very proud and continue to do us proud. Josh Manson was part of the Avalanche, Colorado Avalanche, and it was such a beautiful event. Mom and Dad were, proud of their son, and there were lots of tears shed, and so many people and so many kids at the Art House are celebrating our Josh Manson, who didn't take a normal route to get to his dream, but he kept fighting, as the Mansons have taught their kids to do, and persevere, and voila, Prince Albert had the Stanley Cup. I hope it comes back again next year by either Manson family or Buffalo Sabres.
They have a team. Okay. Well, we've all spoke, so I guess I'm closing. Of course, I'm going to start in a different order. Of course, the sod turning was exciting. And what was more exciting for me is that I received 2 more calls about leasing in the yard. So I referred them to the appropriate agent, which is Dave Harridan, their agent. So just having the construction going and that announcement has really excited people about the yard because, of course, we're tire kickers. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to? We want to see it. And now that it's underway, we're getting lots of activity. So I'll start at the top of my list. So first of all, I'm wearing this beautiful tie. And I got to thank 2 elders, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I attended as a guest back to Patosh. It was their 50th anniversary celebration, and it was a big day for them because the federal government surrendered the land back to Patosh to the Métis. So there was quite a signing authority, and I probably had the largest crowd they ever had. It was just unbelievable. And I'll give you an example. In the normal grand entry there's 20 to 25 people. This time there was 104 from all levels of government, people, police forces from all over the province, which was nice to see there. The RCMP, our city police were there. Saskatoon was there. And they identified them all and thanked them all for coming. Then from there, I went on to the Summer Games in Saskatoon, where we were very well represented by the Grand Council and the Woodland Cree. We had a large contingency there, and to see the opening ceremony, to see 4,000 people, it's so you know. They actually had it in a neat place. They had it on the football field, the Hilltops at Gordie Hall. And that's how big the venue was, and it was just a great event. And so I want to congratulate them on it. And the James Smith, who is also does projects with us, was the host committee, and they did a great job. From there, I'm going to talk about the X. First of all, it was so happy to have the X back. We've had it for a couple of years. What's interesting is we'll have the final results. We're having a meeting tonight at 7, but the busiest day this year was Wednesday. But of course, the weather probably, and the people came there early. Lots of people that I talked to on Wednesday came Wednesday, Thursday, because they were heading back to the lake. And so we had great crowds. We were very pleased. We did, of course, every big event has a few glimpses that we'll work on to try to make better for next year. And if anyone has any suggestions, please give us a call. But for all the volunteers, and when I talk of volunteers, you know, I looked in this room and I've seen quite a few there, up there. I seen Councillor Cody chopping cheese for poutine, which was an interesting effect. Of course, the Sputnik team, which I got to thank, they covered for me. I think I only made 10 before I got called away again. But I did spend the whole week there, so I got to talk to lots of people, and they were just excited to be back. And it's interesting, and I'm going to say this in a careful way. It's interesting when you talk to people from outside our city, how positive they talk about our city. They talk about our facilities, they talk about our hotels, they talk about our parks. This one lady, she'd gone away 10 years ago, came back and visited, and was shocked to see that all the paddling pools now are splash parks. And then the facilities up at the Jenkins Center, she said, boy, you're going to be named the City of Parks, you know, and what she was excited about, it's all free. And so really positive comments on the streets, you know, and so that was very exciting to hear, because we are a positive place and we're a great place to live. So with that, I'm going to move on to number 14, inquiries. Oh, my board looked up. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My inquiry is directed to Public Works, and I just was wondering if we're behind in repaving program this year. Because Cullinaire Street was to be paved last year, and it still has not been paved this year. I thought when a street is carried over from one year to the next, it's on the top of the list. Well, we're already second week of August, and Cullinaire has not seen its repaving yet. And so I'm just wondering, are we behind in our paving schedule? If the director, acting director knows, or interim director.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. I'm unaware of any delays to our paving projects, but that being said, I can check and get back to City Council.
Yeah, okay, because I think the residents of Cullinaire would appreciate that. As you know, last year we ran out of time, and so they understood. And now, you know, I'm hoping that we don't run out of time again this year and they get bumped to the bottom again next year, so if it doesn't get done this year. Thank you for that. And the other question I have is not to Public Works, this one will be to planning, just about marketing our city. And Preet, I just received a response from my inquiry. I just got it during the meeting here, and I guess I think we need, like, it's not really Parita's job to market events in the city, I guess. It's so I think we need to start thinking about that. Who markets our events? So should we have a single organization from the city? Should it be communications? Who should market events that occur in the city? For example, in my inquiry I mentioned about Kids Fest, Street Fair, sidewalk sale, all that kind of stuff. Should it be the individual organizations putting it on, or should it be somebody from tourism or somebody from the Historical Society or communications or whatever? Who should be marketing our events is a question I have. And I don't expect an answer tonight, but that'll be an inquiry that I'm going to put in writing. I think it's important. We had a successful X, but it could have been even more successful. It was marketed not only by the X, but by a wider association of Parida or tourism or whoever. So that's just my thought.
Okay. In the X, we have quite a budget for advertising. So I don't know how we do it with the city because we don't have that. But we'll certainly get you the answer. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. So my inquiry is about the busing system in the West Flat and how sometimes it's really not happening. And when is that going to be cleared up, if it's going to be cleared up at all? People are getting very frustrated, like they were last month when I had an inquiry about the same thing. And things are still not changing, so. And school's around the corner, and I guess we're busing children too to school, so that's quite important. So if I could get an answer through whoever.
Acting Director.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. We're continuously working with our transit operator, First Bus, on having all of the 6 leased buses on the road. So far, we do have 3 of them on the road, and the 3 should actually be on the road here within a week or so, as per the last update that we received from our transit operator. And so we're, as per basically the routes, we do have a priority list that we go by. So we keep the routes that are most utilized on the road. That's when we have to cancel any routes for any bus repairs issues.
Thank you.
Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've put in several inquiries now through our online process, and I guess I'll make it formal here. I don't know if I should put a notice of motion in, but I've been getting asked about our boat launch along the river. It's been used a lot more this year, I think, than last, and so getting some inquiries about parking. But more specifically, are we looking at doing any paving along, or because I can't see how else we're going to improve that parking or that ramp in the boat launch, but is there any plans in this budget year to address that, I guess would be my inquiry.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. No, there's no plans to do any paving in the boat launch area there this year. Yeah.
I don't know if I want an oil product close to the water.
Pardon me?
I don't know if I'd want an oil product close to the water. But he'll get back to you.
Okay, well, maybe through another form, I'll clear it.
Okay. Councillor Zurkowski.
I'm going to pick up on that inquiry by asking this inquiry. Perhaps the best opportunity to have that conversation about an effective boat launch is through the budget cycle. I don't recall us bringing it up here before. I don't recall us making it a priority. I don't recall it being in the budget documents. But I do think that we need to have that conversation. There's an opportunity there being lost, and not allowing parking, I think, is probably not the best answer, but it goes back to what we've budgeted for. We've never brought it up. Have we? There's my inquiry. And so I think it's becoming a greater priority. Imagine a riverbank where there's river access, where people can go down with their boats and equipment and park there for an afternoon and enjoy the river. Imagine. So that's my response to that inquiry, is perhaps budget cycle.
Yeah, and I think to help, I was down the other night, we actually had 4 ski-doos? Jet skis. There's the neutral comment, yes. Jet skis on the river, and I sat and watched them for half an hour. It looked like they were playing, and it really looked impressive, and we should use it. I think our biggest challenge with the boat launch, as you mentioned, it is parking. They're very restrictive to bring their equipment down there, push it in, and then they have to go all the way up onto the street, take up 2 meters, so, because we've got a trailer. So I think it can be more utilized, but I think we're going to have to bite the bullet and come up with some kind of a parking formula down there. Okay, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. This inquiry, I guess, would be for the transportation manager. There is a speed sign located on 15th Avenue between Marquis and 28th, which is where I asked to put it up. But I had a resident say that it is a bit of a distraction for the crosswalk that's right there. So I'm hoping that we can move that further down away from the crosswalk.
Yep, put that in. That's a very good point. Councillor Zerkowski.
Could administration take a look at adding a speed sign on 4th Avenue south of Marquis? That stretch of road, a couple of blocks there, has seen an increase in traffic since that business has opened up. And there's reports of a lot of speeding going on. And before people get all excited and ask for other traffic calming measures, if we could at least put up a speed sign so people are aware of the speed, that is the request coming from the neighbors that live along that stretch of 4th Avenue.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, any other inquiries? Okay, I see none. We're going to move on to inquiry responses, July 11th, 2022. Council Gilmore.
I move that the inquiry 22-7 be received as information and filed.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Edwards?
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. Question's now open. Carried. Okay, number 16, notice of motions. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. Then I'll put a motion in, then a notice of motion that administration look at options and cost to improve the boat launch area along the river in the 2023 budget. Because that, I mean, it's more than maybe just a concrete pad. There could be other work that could be done. So I'll leave it into their capable hands, and I hope to see it in our budget documents.
Could you add, and parking?
And parking, yes.
Yeah,
I will.
we don't, because that's the issue.
Thank you.
So that if they're going to do a report, they must. Thank you for doing that. Councillor Zepp.
Thank you. I have two. That the city administration provide a report regarding the feasibility of offering more swimming lesson spaces in categories of lessons where families are not able to utilize swimming lessons due to lack of spaces. And the second motion is the city administration provide a report regarding the feasibility of keeping the Kinston Water Park open to the end of August for the 2023 season. And also the feasibility of night swimming. Thank you.
Okay. No one else in the queue, so I'll move on. Number 17, motions, we have none. 18, public forum, we have none. Councillor Kilmer.
I move to adjourn.
Seconder. Councillor Head.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. I'm speedy on this one. Ooh. Questions now open. Carried. Thank you. Very good meeting. Enjoy the rest of your summer. We don't have much left before we're back to school and holidays.